Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Oladele Ayorinde. I'm happy to welcome you to the Organ House Concert and Seminar Series for this year, 2025. It's been an interesting journey, particularly throughout last year, thanks to our friends and colleagues across spaces who have made this particular platform what it is today, particularly through your, concern, your effort, joining us on a weekly basis and also pushing the conversation, promoting the conversation, and ultimately, sustaining the conversation, making it, functional in a sense that it speaks to what we tend, you know, what we plan for the initiative. So thank you so much. So this year, this is the first seminar series for the year, and it is intentional that we are dedicating it to someone who also dedicated his life to the cause and the good and the promotion of African musicology, particularly the Yoruba musicology, in southwestern Nigeria and beyond. So today's seminar is a dedication to some sort, and it's not just a one-off seminar in terms of tribute. It's also a tripartite seminar in the sense that we are going to have three of this seminar was scattered, within the first quarter of this year or second quarter. But we are going to have, this is one, we are going to have two, we are going to have three. But for a while, let's talk about the organized seminar series. For those who are joining us for the first time, this is organized content and seminar series. This series is an avenue. It's a space of free conversation where we share ideas, where we negotiate, different forms of knowledge and scholarly perspective, research perspective, artistic perspective, and creative, approaches that has to do with music. We've had compositions, ideas. We've had ideas around composition, exploring issues of composition, particularly in the African art music. Also, ideas around artistic practice, concert forms, documentations, and also historical knowledge in and within Nigerian music and beyond. So in all, the Organ House Concert and Seminar Series is a space of critical engagement. The idea is simply to create a space where people can freely negotiate, advance, critique, and also push the ideas of scholarship beyond its current state, And we thank our friends and colleagues who has made this space what it is today. So thank you so much. Shout out to you there for some of you, for everyone who has contributed to this journey. We deeply appreciate your effort and your concern in making this space what it is today. So thank you so much. So officially, I can say, welcome to 2025. So we are happy to welcome you again. And we promise you that 2025 is definitely going to be a productive season with us. It's definitely going to be a new layer, a new turn, a new era in terms of scholarly ideas, in terms of ideas that are going to be negotiated and advanced on this platform. So I can say, look forward, to critical moments, artistic moments, historical moments, and different layers of what we've been doing, but in a different way this particular, year. So I'm happy to welcome you. Thank you so much. So let's come back to today's presentation. Today I have here with me Dr. Bayo, the HOD of music department at Mountaintop University. I also have Dr. Bosun Adekogbe from the Department of Music, Obafemi Awolowo University. So we are going to have Dr. Bayo and Dr. Bosun to help us, open these layers of conversation, particularly in terms of our tributes to Professor Augustus Olatunji Vidal. Of course, some of us know that recently we lost that gem. And it's our responsibilities, one of our responsibilities as scholars, to not only celebrate them, but also to keep their work going. So this is one of our own efforts to not only, reconnect, but also to propagate what Professor Vidal has done, what he stood for, and how the afterlife of him in terms of his work, how we propagate these ideas. So thank you. So I'm happy to welcome Dr. Olatunbosun from OAU. Dr. Olatunbosun, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Good afternoon. Yes.
I will invite you to introduce yourself shortly, then we'll start. But let me shift the camera also to Dr. Bayo. You are welcome, sir. Of course, Dr. Bayo is the HOD, is the host of this particular and the power behind this particular initiative also. So, but officially on the set again, we are happy to welcome Dr. Bayo.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. It's another year, another session, and vibrant ideas. You are welcome. And like Dr. Oladele said, we promise you another experience in the organ arts concert and seminar series. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So let's move into the process. But before moving to the process itself, we also need to know who we are talking to. What is well, in scholarship, we talk about positionality. If you want to talk about a particular idea, want to propagate, challenge, or promote, we see this, we understand scholarly power, scholarly discourse, scholarly knowledge in terms of positionality of the bearer of that knowledge. So I'm moving to Dr. Bosun. Could you please just tell us about your current work, what you are working on, something for our friends to know you?
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Oladele, and I'm very grateful for this opportunity to introduce myself and my research areas where I'm currently working on. Yes, my research areas is basically on musical acoustics. Where I'm working on the fusion of music, the artistic and scientific aspect of music, especially as it relates to loud musical sounds and the environment. So my research focuses mainly on the impact of loud musical sound on human and environmental health. And that is what my PhD thesis is actually focused on. So today, there's no way I'll also be touching that aspect when speaking about Professor Vidal. Thank you very much for this unique opportunity. I'm grateful.
You're welcome, Dr. Adekogbe. Thank you so much. Thank you. Of course, we know Professor Vidal is also, of course, well, immersed in that area. And I'm happy that we are having you, on this platform today to discuss not only your work, but also, in relation to Vidal's scholarly legacies, as a typical African frontier. Yeah, so let's shift the camera. Let's go back to the, of course, our host. We know him, but you need to know what he's working on. So, Divio, can we know about your ongoing work and how to place you within this current conversation?
Thank you very much. I've said it over and over again. My name is Bayo. As a disciple of the man we speak about, Professor Vidal. I'm an ethnomusicology, Yoruba particularly. I would love to be described as Yoruba musicology, just like Vidal. My current work I'm doing now, like I stood up from the work on my system, trying to write something on the popular music in Nigeria. Look at the movement, the up and down movement of popular music in Nigeria from the slave trade era to the present. Popular music, and look at Lagos as the pivot of this idea. Let me seize this opportunity. I would like to work with some of our viewers today because I'll be collating data using Google Form. So definitely, I would like to work with some of them. I'll make it open if you are willing to work with me, you'll be getting the Google form so that we can work and collate the data and get the direction. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. And that's an interesting, layers of research. Please reach out to Dr. Bayo for those. Definitely, it's something everyone should buy into. And I wish you all the best in the process. Definitely.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So let's dive into the process. Let's go there. Let's get into the process. So our topic today is Professor Olatunji Vidal, a three-part tribute to an African frontier. The question is, what is a frontier? What is an African frontier? And why does it matter? And what is the place of Olatunji Vidal in this process? Okay. In terms of structure of our conversation today, we have 3-in-1 structure. The first layer I will open up as I'm doing right now. Then I will hand over the button to Dr. Bayo. Then after Dr. Bayo, we hand over the button to Dr. Adekogbe. Then we'll make it open. We'll open the floor as usual for our friends and colleagues who are joining us online. Again, for some of us joining us for the first time, I'd like to remind you that this is a conversational. It's a platform where you are free not only to ask questions, but also to take ownership of the process. Again, our project is public humanity. It's documentation. We are working with everyone. Everybody is a stakeholder. You are also a scholar. So we will need your voice. So when it is time, we'll open the platform for you to also join the conversation. Everybody's voice matters in this context. And we are always happy to having that with you. So let's go back to the business of the day. So I was saying initially that Olatunji Vidal is an African frontier. The question is, who is a frontier? What does that mean in the context of Nigerian musicology, particularly the focus on the Southwest region, what is now called Yoruba musicology, or the study of Yoruba music, and I'm happy Dr. Bayo, it belongs to that school of thought, or the pioneers of that angle. So Olatunji Vidal stood for that concept, and his work is huge in that area. So Olatunji Vidal is a frontier, but who is a frontier, and why does it matter? Now, the concept of frontier as a kind of historical underpinning or precedence that is also rooted in the idea of the notion of Africa. And by that, I mean, we're talking about pre-colonial Africa, colonial Africa, and post-colonial Africa. But the concept itself is manifested more, and it has been, widely negotiated through different case studies, particularly within the anthropological discourse of post-colonial Africa. And one of the pioneers of this conversation, many of them, but I'll mention two. One of them is the Cameroonian scholar, Achille Mbembe. I'm sure you know Achille Mbembe, whose work has not only pushed the narrative of Africa in a different format. I'm sure you know about his work on the post-colony, and also his 2013 and 2019 work, the Necropolitics. I'm going to draw from these two material briefly. Then the second scholar is the Cameroonian scholar again, Francis Inyamjo, who is now popular for the concept of conviviality and incompleteness. As you all know, Inyamjo's scholarship is entangled with the notion of Yorubaness, and that is in the context of Amos Tutuola. Recently, Inyamjo has written a lot of work, including Achille Mbembe, diving into the Yoruba cosmology, theorizing the everyday life of Africa and how Africans behave and the African identity in the current, dispensation, or I can say contemporary Africa. But central to the work of Francis Inyamjo is the notion of incompleteness, the embodiment of space. Being, what does it mean to be human? in today's world? What does this mean to be human in today's world? But that idea, it theorized from the work of Amos Tutuola, the palm wine drinker. It's 1952, publication. That novel, I'm sure you know, is a popular one. But Inyamjo engaged in a different way, calling our attention to ways in which our everyday life is entangled in different complexities, and for him, the ideas of an African frontiers intersect with the broader critics of colonialism, imperialism, and the dominant Western epistemologies that have shaped our understanding of Africa. So by that, Onyamjo is pointing our attention, or even in Bembe, that frontiers in this context references the very notion of an African agency. What does that mean? An agency in this case is simply a post-colonial formation, particularly in the late 70s, early 80s. The concept of agency, or is steeped in the notion of identity discourse. Who is an African? What does it mean to be an African? Of course, this is not new. In the 80s was not the first entry into this conversation. It is actually rooted from the early 1920s. And that was the context for pre-colonial negotiation, the political underpinning of colonial negotiation and the colonial process, the African independence. But central to these huge layers of discourse is what we call the African frontiers. Who are these frontiers? They are the people who have shaped Africa, the knowledge of Africa, narrated, researched, propagated through publications, and also teaching them to Africans, conceptualizing what Africa is through their research, and also standing for that cause over the years. So Olatunji Vidal is an African frontier in this context. As the presentation of today shows, or suggests to us, Olatunji Vidal work is steeped in the notion of Africanism, what it means to be Yoruba. His work has focused, explored different angles of Nigerian life, African life from the Yoruba perspective. So I think from Vidal's work, we can talk of Yoruba cosmology. We can talk of we can discuss Yoruba contemporary life. We can talk of Yoruba identity from indigenous, colonial, and post-colonial cultures. So Olatunji Vidal is actually one of the classic examples of a post-colonial African frontiers, because his perspective on Africa offer a rich and nuanced understanding of the complexities and opportunities that are from the encounters he himself, were part of, his own experiences and exchanges that take place across spaces, across time, in which he also belonged, and the places, times, discourse that also shape his own identity. So today, I'm happy to introduce to you Professor Augustus Olatunji Vidal and African Frontiers. So from this brief introduction, or what we can call context laying, I would like to invite Dr. Bayo Oyeyemi to take us on in this process, taking us into the life and works of his own perspective or representation, or we can say, of Olatunji Vidal. Dr. Bayo.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ayo, for that context laying, like you said, very apt and appropriate. It's always very painful to talk about Professor Vidal. We call him Baba Vidal. Some people called him Oluaye in the past. But you see, we have to face reality. What we can do for him is what we are doing, celebrate him. He lived a very good life. I came across Baba Vidal as an undergraduate, as I think 1986 or 87, when I got to Ife. It was very new at Ife then, because he came from UCLA, and it was brought to Ife by Baba Akuba. You know, Akuba established the department, and immediately Baba Vida joined him. But shortly, not quite long, Baba Vida came. Akuba had to leave to Lagos.
Yeah.
Then the responsibility of building a very viable of Department of Music, of carrying on with the philosophy as planted there by Uber, rested on Vida. Vida brought in some good other colleagues. So when we came in 1986, we saw the man very active, tall, always running. He talks legs, and I mean, one of our lecturers. Now, as an African frontier, I'll take it off from there before I actually describe what I mean. It was Baba Vida that actually began the process of changing the orientation of somebody like me from core European art music orientation to African musicology. We came in from churches and everything, and what we were known for, what we knew music to be, was play piano, play organ, sing oratorio, sing everything. I remember clearly the first class with Baba Vida, he asked us to define music. What a very cheap thing. And we began to define, the usual thing. And very quietly, he would look at you, very patient man, and he started mentioning some Yoruba music. He said, I didn't know music. That thing aroused our curiosity. So is this part of what we're going to learn here? And that was Vida for you. Vida was a renowned academic, you said, a distinguished character, a shining light in the pursuit of knowledge, a man of extraordinary disposition to duty, very hardworking, very committed. The only thing I knew Vida to was just work, work, work. His unwavering dedication to duties, infectious passion to excellence, and generous gift have left us an indelible mark on our institution and the lives it touched during the brief stay with us. I was in Ife for 5 years with Vida, day in, day out, so I could say a lot about him. A scholar par excellence, distinguished scholar. Vida, another thing about Vida, because I want to cite specific example to buttress all this snaps here. When Professor Vida believed in something, he gives all what it takes. Let me cite an example. As early scholars, undergraduates, we got to the department with some technical teaching aids, 2 speakers, violin, no violin, just few things. Then, before then, the universities was always engaging people from outside to play at the convocation. Then they play recorded music. One day, Professor Vida ran into the lobby. We're always there. And he gathered us. I was playing the violin. Sheung Uwaje was a clarinet. Tolu Uwaje trombone. And those are personal instruments. And he said, come, we're going to play at the convocation. It sounds so ridiculous. Where is the instrument? He said, come. And we started rehearsal. He brought in professors, the current head of the Department of Music, now Professor Olatunji, played the euphonium. Professor Bayo from Medical Sciences played euphonium too. Professor Adekogbe, violin, flute, just an array of people with different instruments. And we couldn't say no. These are pupils who came from big orchestral background, good music, and the orchestra did not just work in our own perspective. That was how we began to rehearse. One thing that I noticed, all the things Baba Vida arranged were Yoruba, folk music, marches, and everything, very close to us. And that was the first time I was seeing those things being played in an orchestra. I was used to the normal European thing. And in our own thing, we were just following our Oga. Every one of us, what this man said, but he believed in that cause. The day of the convocation, we proceeded to the grant. Meanwhile, it was a battle. The university was not even into that orientation. But he persuaded them. He said, if you have a music department in this place, and we call ourselves a leading African university, then the music department to champion the cause, not any other thing. Not for us to get to the convocation ground and be listening to foreign music. That's Vidar's philosophy. I'm saying all these things to buttress what he said as an African frontier. Now, when we got to the convocation as early as 7. Vidal was a very disciplined man. You dare not. When we got to the convocation ground, we started by playing High Life. It was strange to me. I was coming from an orientation of class. It was strange. After High Life, we started, Juju guys mounted the stage, and the university came up. The light came up. Said, this is close to us. After that 4-day convocation ceremony, Professor Bwande Abimbola, the then vice chancellor, now announced, said, who are these people? They said music department. He said, what do they want? After the convocation, a grant of 100,000 naira was given to music department.
Wow.
100,000 naira sounds so small now. Well, Dr. Ayo, that 100,000 naira was enough to buy a full orchestral instrument and band instrument.
Wow.
I know maybe Professor Olatunji, Professor Daramola, they will bear witness. And you see, the thing, what I gained from that is that, like, according to him, he said, you use what you have to get what you want. And that signifies the beginning of what is in Ife today. That is Vidar's philosophy. He never believed that nothing is impossible. It starts with that. Let me go further again. When he came to establish this department, he actually brought me here anyway. So we started with we must run the department. I was not exposed to a situation where somebody that not well grounded in rudiment of music. And he said, let's take them. We started with 5. But I went to him and said, these people, he said, take them. If you don't take these students, music education will suffer. He said, if you don't take them to sustain music education, that means music education will suffer. He gave myself responsibility of teaching them rudiment. And he said, in 6 months, they must pass grade 5. And it happened. That is the orientation about African musicology. And today, what he planted there, come to live. And that is one of the products. Let me go further quickly. A Dogged scholar, like I said in my small write-up here, a father figure. I've never seen anybody that came across Professor Vidal and never gained anything. When I was returning from service, I met him. He said, Bayo, are you back? When are you starting your postgraduate? When he came here, he never allowed me to rest for 1 minute. What are you writing on? It was Baba Vidal that said, at every minute as a scholar, you must be working on a paper. Don't sleep. When you finish this, send it for publication, stand another one. So there's no time they will call you for any presentation that you should have something to present. That was Vidal. I'm saying this personally, but I know it represents what Vidal was to virtually everybody that came across him. On Monday, in my master's class, in my MA class, we were just talking about Vidal. And one of our students I said, that Baba, he said, Baba Vidal paid my fee in LASU, my final year. That was Vidal. I said, Baba, he said, Baba just called me and I said, what is the problem? I was disillusioned. I was almost dropping out. And he said, Baba called me, said, what's the problem? And he paid my fee. That was Vidal. That was the person the personality that we have missed in the industry. Now, again, his own person, how he encouraged people. I think I never, for my interactions with Vidal, the only time I saw him in another man's office talking, it was at the door, talking to Professor Adekogbe. Vidal minded his business. And what was Vidal's business? His writings, his works, arrangement, writing, and he was a very vast man. I'm glad Dr. Adekogbe is going to talk about acoustics because he taught every one of us music and the technical media. Music and the technical media, very grounded. If Vidal started doing calculation, you will have to open your mouth. Is this music? I asked him in the class, yes, sir, is this music again? when he was doing all these acoustic calculation, very vast. Lastly, so that I can, we can, if we continue to talk about Baba Vida's, things will continue to come. I want to take this opportunity to appreciate the Chancellor of NTU and the Vice Chancellor for responding at the appropriate time when Baba Vida died. It shows appreciation of scholars. The Chancellor raised a team from Lagos, part from NTU and headquarters, soloist to Ife to celebrate that man for a whole week, Tuesday to Friday. It shows, my take home from that shows a value placed on scholarship. It showed deep appreciation for what the man did. It shows concern for family, And I want to, on behalf of Organ House, because it was so when I got the news that Baba Vida died, I said, what can we do in Organ House? We reached out to the management, reached out to Baba, and Baba, the Chancellor even took it beyond my expectation. It was like, ha. I told Chancellor, I said, we can go on Tuesday and come back on Wednesday. He said, no, the man was a scholar. Stay, and when they finish on Friday, you come back. On that note, Dr. Ayo, I want to sign out.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bayo. Of course, thank you so much, and thanks for the detailed, insight and you've provided in terms of the person of the woman, the humanity, the humanness, being human, from aspect of Professor Vida. So again, Vida and African frontier. Being an African frontier, as Dr. Bayo explained, is also about being human. The concept of humanity is steeped in the notion of African frontier. And what is that humanity? That humanity is simply what we call the agency, ability to negotiate. And that negotiation, as I explained earlier, is also entangled with the notion of resistance, particularly in the context of African life. We can talk about decolonization, within the epistemology of African music, African music, African knowledge, the notion of Africa being negotiated at the expense, even, voicing and talking and making cases for why African knowledge needs to be sustained. So this is one of the principles and characters that shape the concept of African frontiers. Or as Francis Nyamjo explained, African frontiers are incomplete personalities. They often operate as a convivial space of encounter. So they are based on conviviality. What is conviviality? The ability to work with people, to work with things, asserting their agency in relation to other things, bringing forth the value of society, people, and making the place what it should be. Of course, it's not always a rosy path for African frontiers, but they negotiated. And their value in most cases also keep reproducing. So on this point, we have listened to one aspect, from Dr. Bayo, the ways in which Professor Vida, shapes people experience, has shaped experiences and also contributed to the concept of woman, being human. So in this case, let's turn our gaze to our second presenter. Let's go to Ife and join Dr. Olatunbosun Adekogbe. Dr. Adekogbe.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes. Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
At last, I was able to connect. It has been a serious challenge to connect. Can you hear me, please?
I can hear you. I can hear you clearly.
Yes, I said, so happy that and they said that I'm able to connect eventually. So on this note, let me first of all thank the organizers of this particular discussion. Like we also follow Dr. Bayo, we also thank the Chancellor of MPU and the Vice Chancellor of MPU for putting together this particular, discussion. Whether what it even do beyond what we are doing now, it is not too much for a man we call an African musicologist. So whether decides all this we are doing for him, and also pray that you also read the fruit of our labor in good deeds in the mighty name of Jesus. So let me just please, I would like to share my screen to show something.
Okay, while we wait for Dr. Adekogbe, while we wait for him, I will keep on a bit, and when it comes, So the concept of African frontier, Professor Olatunji Vidal, a frontier of a distinguishable values. And by frontier, as I mentioned earlier, it's about agency.
Can you hear me?
Yes, definitely.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Definitely, you can do that.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Okay, you can share your screen.
Yes, I'm trying to do that now. You see, my system is not aligned with me, but okay, let me just speak. Let me just speak, please. Let me just speak because it seems the screen is not clear. Let me just start by, like, I've actually acknowledged the organizers of the program. So I will just speak briefly on Vidal's. Please, can you hear me, please?
Definitely, I can hear you. We can hear you.
Vidal's, impact of Vidal's on most of us who pass through Vidal. And you realize that, like Dr. Bayo said earlier on, Vidal is an epitome of knowledge. An epitome of knowledge. You know, as a renowned musicologist, I wouldn't want to go when Vidal was born on February 20, 1942 and died on 19th of 2024. We all know all this. But the most paramount things I want to say about Vidal is this. His scholarship trajectory is all I want to talk about, and his impact on so many of us who actually passed through him. Vidal is, like Bayo said, is researching focused on African musicology, particularly Yoruba music. And he has published so many essays, including essays on Yoruba music, musicology, history, theory, and practice in this area. So, but Vidal as a person, like I said, is during my undergraduate period at OAU, I had a very serious encounter with Vidal. Not the one Bayo had. My own was a kind of a friction. We were best of enemies then because I have not understood who Vidal was. It happened one day at a convocation rehearsal. Vidal gave us a piece. I was playing the bass guitar. Vidal gave us a piece, and I was playing the piece, what I saw on the bass guitar. Vidal came and said, "Oh gosh, what are you playing? What are you playing?" I said, "Okay, I'm playing what I saw here. I'm playing what I said. That cannot be correct. That cannot be correct. That cannot." I said, "Okay, can you play the bass guitar and have it?" That part Vidal's head. So what do you mean? How can I play it? I'm a keyboard. I don't play the bass guitar. But eventually, we settled it. But after that time, he called me to his office. He started giving me all the. In fact, he pruned my decision to go into area of acoustics right from my undergraduate level. Through I ran away from physics. During the secondary school.
But I found out that physics is that which I derived from Vida. Vida incorporated a lot of musical elements, I mean, musical elements in my brain. Vida started, and it came to a time during my undergraduate level, I became, after that time, during my master's level, I went into the area of production and management of music. Vida assisted a lot. Then in my PhD, that is where of this presentation is. I did my PhD in Ilorin, University of Ilorin. When I first got here, I was from Scholarship, it's purely scientific. So Austin Eliolu, who is now in Ghana, decided to pick it up. But I'm still having challenges with my work, so I returned back to Vida in April. Oga, I have challenges. This and this and this. Every blessed day for more than 3 months, I go to Vida's house in the morning. I will leave there around 6 p.m. in the evening. Try to start knowledge from. As a matter of fact, his contribution to my thesis cannot be underestimated. It's more or less Vida rules the entire thesis. He put all these things to my brain, and my advisor in London started wondering, where are you getting all this information from? I said, Oga, it's Professor Vida. He said, okay. So Vida is a man that I don't think anybody in the musical studies will wave aside. Like Obafemi presented that the issue with the Department of Music, that is the organ house at MTU, started, with Vida. There was a day I went to Adekogbe University, and when I got there, I was trying to probably do my creative leave or sabbatical. I got there, I saw the door, Olatunji Vidal. I said, this man again here, he may see you. I asked the man, he said he has been coming here. In fact, he's very great. So Vidal is a man that nobody can wave off in the musical study, really, either in Nigeria or in Africa or in the global sense. Come to think of it, we visited Provider is a pity I couldn't share this thing. I have some videos of Vidal I wanted to play to see how Vidal has mentored so many of us, even at retirement. He kept mentoring people at retirement. All our presentations to him, there is no Vidal will not bring back the memory of his class experience. If you still talk about them and give us more knowledge to acquire. So in all things, I want to say, in the area of acoustics, Vidal gave me some instinct. Vidal told me one day, he said, when it is raining and there are thunder, please don't stand on the door, at the entrance of any door. I said, why? He said, don't you know that sound travels faster than light travels faster than sound? That when there is a thunder, the thunder can strike anybody down, just at the entrance of anywhere, the block. It was then said the sound will take off before the what do you call it? The sound will travel faster before the rain will come. So he made me to understand that sound travels faster than light travels faster than sound. See, the lighting will come faster than the sound will come. So I got this knowledge and I applied this knowledge during my PhD, because my PhD has to do with the study with sound studies. So there was a day I went back to him. I said, Prof, I have challenges in this and this and this, and the calculation of decibels. What formula will I use? He started with that, gave me that formula. This and this and this and this and this. It was just like a magic. I never expected it. And I got it right. And that accelerated my thesis in the area of physical acoustics. I got that from Vida. More also, in 19, when Vida was 70, I think that was 2012. 2012, when we launched the two books, the completion of the two books at Convener Center, I think it was 70 there, maybe in 2012. We were there, and Father mentioned, he said something. He made a statement which I can never forget. He said, one day, he said, I'm 70 now. One day, I will go. If I ask you now, what is happening on you? I said, oh God, there are no members. And that was how he kept asking every one of us there. And 12 years after, the man still lives and he impacted life. So Vida is a man, an icon that nobody can wave away in the musical scene. I was with somebody yesterday. I said the contemporary, they are going gradually. Mama Obidike has gone. Vida is still here. I mean, has gone. Adekogbe, who also the contemporary, we also pray for long life for him. These are the three people that have met, that have actually passion, that have shaped my musical study in terms of sound studies and music. And let me just say this to conclude, because there are many things I couldn't share now. Let me just say this, that Vida was somebody that when you mention his name, say you are Department of Music, someone ask you, do you know Vida? You don't know Vida, you are not for Department of Music. Vida did a lot in this department. That is why his place will not be erased. And there is something also I want to suggest today. I don't know how we are going to make it. The oath and also Department of Music here, that probably there will be a way we can come together to organize a kind of how would I put it, a foundation for Vida that could be resident either in NIFE or in MTU. The most important thing is that we have a foundation that we base this Vida foundation, where you have some musical equipment and things like that eventually turn to a library for the upcoming musicologists and lecturers and everybody who are going to be a research center that will give us a further understanding of the personality of Vida. Once again, I want to thank everybody. Clearly, the organ now that organize this, that this is a very good thing you have done. And I pray that God will continue to sustain the organ now to do more and more. This is not the beginning. That's the three parts. Today we are just looking at suggestions we have done, and I pray as we go further, the understanding of the personality of late Professor Vida is better understood by those who he never taught. Better understood. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bosun Adekogbe. Thank you. Thank you for the insight. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah. So, but just a few comments from my own side. Of course, our friends and colleagues are waiting to engage. From my own side, regarding the concept of acoustic and in relation to Vida, is taking us back to the idea of frontiers, advancing newness, raising new generations. The notion of frontier is steeped in the concept of agency. How have you been able to negotiate, development, advancement of a cause, of a place? And in this context, music, first of all, and the second layer is what is now called perhaps African musicology, and to be specific, in the case of Vida, Yoruba musicology. So thank you so much, Dr. Adekogbe. So friends and colleagues, at this point, I am happy to invite you on this platform, to join this conversation. Perhaps you have a question. I'm sure many people have many things to say about Professor Vida. And also, I also need to let us know that this is just a first layer of a three-part discourse. This is more like laying down the foundation. We are still going into processes where we are going to flesh out different principles, works, scholarly ideas that Vida has championed over the years as an African frontier. So this is the foundation. This is the first layer. So I'm inviting you. I'm sure you have questions, perhaps through the frontiers matter, issues around frontiers, or the discourse, the narratives that have been shared today, both from Dr. Bayo and also Dr. Adekogbe. So please, you are welcome to just unmute yourself, also introduce yourself. That's very important so we can know where you are joining us from. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Hello, good morning. Good afternoon there, everybody.
Good afternoon, good morning, Prof.
Thank you. My name is Adeoluwa Okwade. Thank you for bringing this up today. The host department headed by Dr. Bayo. Thank you for being there live again. Dr. Adekogbe, thank you. And our regular host or convener, Dr. Oladele Ayorinde, thank you again, and God bless you.
Thank you.
I'm happy that I'm happy we are having this. And since a tribute, I would quickly want to say mine just in 3 different parts. And I make sure that I don't waste much of it. Hello, can you still hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Oh, thank you, sir. Just forgive me, I'm on this channel, because of the time difference, I'm just going to work now. Well, 3 parts. The first one will be how I met Professor Wilder. Second one will be my classroom interaction with him. Then the third will be the professional and career interaction. I met Professor Wilder in 1985. I'm sure I still remember very well. And I went to Ife. So I applied for the certificate program at Ife. And I went for the audition. And I will say it here. Professor Wilder was the one who made me not to go to Ife. And I will tell us why. I prepared for that audition. My uncle of blessed memory. No, it was the church. I think it was my church that I prepared for that exam, for that audition. And I got to Ife. Rudiments of music, I passed. Practical, I was asked, what are you going to play? I said, piano. They said, classical piano. I said, yes, it's okay. I have not finished playing the first page of my piece. This one from nowhere just jumped up. I said, you are playing for the music of the Roman church. That is not classical. That is not classical. That things that took me weeks to practice, to learn to practice. Oh my God. I said, what type of man is this? And that year I was bent in living home. Let me just go to school and study this music. So I got disappointed. So from there, I hated Ife. Just for that, So because the result came out, my name was not part of those who were given admission. But hating that man that time, I'm sure you understand what I meant by saying I hated him. So that prepared me. That's why I met another person who's in the UK now, Sam Amusha, Dr. Sam Amusha now, who now also talked to me about what classical meant, and an uncle of a blessed memory, Oloyede. That was how I found myself at Osuka. No regret that I went to Osuka. So that was my first meeting with Professor Vidal, then Mr. Vidal. I must say it here again, my classroom interaction with Professor Vidal. If there's somebody that you are looking for is so conscientious in his duties, in teaching and in research, Vidal is one of them. And I think we need to really give it to his generation. We didn't have the facilities we have now. Now you can just quickly go, get to ResearchGate, go to Google Scholar, all sorts of things. You can get all sorts of articles from there. You can even do it directly on Google. With AI now, whether good or bad, you can still get something there. These guys didn't have this, but they were thorough. They were thorough. What I did not understand in my undergraduate days, I must confess here today before everybody, as I'm going to tribute to Professor Wilder, I got to know more about it during my classroom classes with Professor Wilder during my graduate studies at Ife. I did not understand equal temperament. Even though I did it, I know how sounds travel, at decimal rate, I know the calculation, everything. But I can tell you today that when I was doing all this at my graduate level, I did not have the in-depth understanding of it. It was in Vida's class. It was in Vida's class that I came to understand the core temperament concept equal temperament theory and equal temperament practice very, very well. May God bless the works he left behind. I remember him very well in my research methodology class. I did not know I was going to work on palace music for my degree, for my PhD, for my doctorate program. But Vida had already prepared me for that, doing his own work innocently. At the time I found myself working on palace music for my doctorate level, what Vida did in my master's class made my research field very, very easy for me to embark on. The man was a fantastic guy in composition, in piano playing, research work, ethnomusicological write-ups, flavored with strong anthropological evidences. Wilder was a fantastic man. My professional interaction with him, Wilder would not look at anybody as a young academic. If you have something to offer, it's there for you. If you have nothing to offer, but you are willing to grow, Prof. Wilder is there. My maiden edition of Yam Festival, for those who are not may not be familiar with that, Yam is Yoruba Art Music Festival, and I have the grace of being the curator of that festival. The maiden edition, I remember how Professor Wilder came and gave his talk there. It's a pity it's gone and we couldn't get a copy. That was my fault anyway, of his lecture there. Professor Wilder took it seriously immediately he got that invitation. And that will make one to remember the likes of OBDK, who was also there live, and one Professor Mudikwe. All of them are late now. For whatever thing you ask us, whether on phone, within the country or outside the country, as long as it's able to speak, the mistake we make is to say you want to have a 5-10 minutes discussion with Professor Wada. You're lying. You're joking rather. Because he will expatiate, do everything for you. So today I'm happy that we have the opportunity to discuss and give tribute to Professor Wilder, a Yoruba musicologist in theory and practice. You will not know how he practices unless you're in the class. His teachings is not in abstract. He was teaching research methodology, and whatever thing he will teach in the class, there are symbols he will use that will make sure that it's still in your memory. There are phrases he's going to use that will stick. There are songs that he will use. And let me quickly give one of it. Apology to, I'm sure we don't have any under 18. Dr. Ayorinde. Hello, sir. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, sir, thank you. Do you have any under 18 on the program?
It's possible.
It's possible.
Yes, Prof.
Okay, if it's possible, part of the thing that will make you to remember when you go for the research field, he was sharing with us in the research class his trip to one of the palaces. I will not mention that palace because that's part of the ethics that govern it. And it got to a place that we cannot ever forget. That things you see, not everything you see that you can take the pictures. When you go to the South Field, that is college. And he got there and he met mothers playing drops, royal drops. And all they were saying is that Iba, Iba, Iba. To dori kodo, tí ó ṣẹ̀jẹ̀. Iba, Iba, Iba. That because it's supposed to be about 18 here. You can fix it yourself for those who are more versed in research towards that. I say Iba, Iba, Iba. To dori kodo, tí ó ṣẹ̀jẹ̀. Iba, Iba, Iba. Thank you, everybody, and God bless. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prof. Thank you. That's another. Thank you, Prof. Thank you so much. Okay. We have Dr. Kweyemi Ashaolu, we have Isuola Adeshola. Okay, let's have Dr. Kweyemi Ashaolu.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So thank you very much. Thank you for this program, and thank you for having us join the platform. And I must say, sorry that I couldn't actually get back to you, when you were trying to get in touch with me as regards this. We were in the middle of convocation in my university, and today is the second day. So I thought we'd still be in the program, and I won't be able to come around. But immediately we were done. That was when I joined the program. Professor Vidal, he was an academic of great enterprise. Towing the path of Professor Okwande, Dr. Bayo and Dr. Adekogbe. Vida was just out of this, and I can say that perhaps we were the last set of undergraduate students that he actually interacted with, But beyond that, I spent quality time with him during his last time, after his 80th birthday. But before then, I remember very well, that when I was admitted into the department in Ife as a direct entry student, we had the name Vida, so we thought that he was a white man. So our seniors in the department referred to him as Major G, Basso Continuo, Abasso Profundo, Iroko, amongst other names, and some of these things he told me personally how they came about, how he got those names. That he got the name Major G since the time he was the captain of the Boys Brigade in his battalion. I think as the captain of one of the battalions in Lagos at the time, I think of St. John's Aroloya. And then we were like, okay, they will call in these names behind him. So I somehow look forward to actually meet with to meet with him. Then, they talked about his brilliance, about his how he teaches and all of that. So unfortunately, by the time my class was to actually have him, he was made the dean of a faculty. And so he didn't take us in 200 level. And then the academic session wasn't actually, didn't go the way it should go. So there was we were home for about 1 year. So by the time we came out of the strike, after strike, he was already finishing, trying to round up his tenure. But one thing I noticed about this man was, in the morning, this man will come with huge arrays of books. He would pack those books, and he doesn't allow anybody to take any. He won't allow you to take his stuff from him. He would pack books, maybe about 20 textbooks. He would bring them out of his car in the morning when he's coming out, and when he's going in the evening, he would return with those books. So I would like, what kind of human being is this that would always be carrying books around? I told him after his 80th birthday that I didn't understand what you were doing with those things until I became an academic myself. So does it mean that you actually go home to read those books, and then it dawned on me that he was actually consulting those books for his research work. And he did that on a daily basis, 5 days a week. Then, that was the first thing I noticed about him. And he never taught us at the time. And he would never allow any student to help him with the loads of books to the extent that when he's coming, students will be going about their normal routine, and it doesn't bother anybody. It won't bother you. I was so elated when in our third year, Professor Vida took us a course on research methodology and field work. That made us to understand how simple man he was, and at the same time, how accessible he was. He would answer questions freely outside of the class, and he likes to engage his students on discussions that shows intellectual depth. Professor Vida doesn't like, timid people. He doesn't like them. He doesn't like timid individuals, and I guess that was where our path crossed, as I would always engage him in and outside of the class, and he would expect you to disagree with him willy-nilly. He's not the type that, okay, well, when you disagree with him, you've gotten an enemy for yourself. No. Prof want to, like, okay, well, add your mind, no, give me an argument, give me a superior argument. That's the kind of man he was. And by the time we got to our final year, he took us acoustic of music and the technical media. I can't forget. And I never liked mathematics. And for those of us who understand acoustics very well, acoustic is just the physics is maths. So when Professor Vida took us acoustics, I had B because of the way he explained the course and the formula to us. He was a total teacher. Acoustic of music was just a pure physics, the way I understand it to be, and he simplified the course so well, and up to today, I still remember words such as transient and formants in pipe organ, overtones and harmonics, amplitude, sound overtones and sound waves, resonances, then the formula F equals to 440 hertz, fundamental overtones, so many. I still remember those things today. It was so close in my final year that anytime we had any unfinished discussion in the department, it would drive me to the senior staff club at the quarters around the conference center, after the conference center. And he would order the bartender to give me ginger ale while he takes his bottle of Adekogbe. That was how close we were. And anytime we're done, he would drive me back to the department so I could find my way back to the hostel. So, and I remember how he encouraged me to start my master's program and to actually look into the comparative analysis of Egungun in Lagos and Oladele in Adekogbe. He had provided that ground, or that premise with some of the things he had discussed with us in class about Egungun, the fancy Eyo, the Yologe, the Agiri, the Eyo and all of that. That told us a whole lot of things. So that actually made my interest to be alive in wanting to know more about these things. So which is encouragement. I was able to delve into that research, and most of the time, Prof will be on the phone, with me for hours, having discussions. When I speak to him about my research findings, like, okay, well, these are the things I was able to to get and all of that. He would open up more vistas, like, okay, well, why don't you look at it like this? Why don't you do this and all of that? And then he provided me with materials. I remember very well. He provided me with materials, I used. And after my master's program, he encouraged me to start my PhD program, and at that time I was running a radio program, IMSO Inspired, on Radio Continental. After every episode on Sundays, Professor Vida would call me and they would tell me that this hymn that you played from Liverpool Cathedral is different from the one you play from Westminster Abbey Cathedral. It was so vast. It taught music, in Yoruba music, in traditional music. I can't just I still find it so hard to believe that he's gone. And I remember the last time I met with him in Ife, I was holding a book. I think Music and Social Dynamics by, I think, the last publication of the late Professor G.H. came in Ketia. And when Professor Vidal, after our discussion, when he was seeing me off, he said, "Okay, which book is this?" I said, what do you still want to be doing with book at 81? Now said, as an academic, you die when you stop reading. That's, and he now instructed me to get the book for him. I can go on and on to say a lot of things about the legendary Professor Vidal, but to give others the grant to share their thoughts about this great man, I want to say a very big thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Shaolu. Thank you so much, and thanks for your comment. Thank you for insightful experiences, and sharing this with us is very important also. From your point, okay, definitely I'm still going to reach out to you, of course. I won't give up on that, definitely. Again, I've mentioned earlier that this is just the first layer of a tripartite, series, three-part series on this. We can say this is just introduction. But in the second and the third layer, we are going to delve more into the content of Vidal's work. What are his principles? What are his ideas? Tracking them. It could be dark in a diachronic way. So we are looking forward to that. And also, I'm open this to our colleagues and friends online. If you are interested in this, kindly reach out to, you kindly reach out to me. You can send me a personal message. And just let me know. I will be happy to, engage you, because the question about frontiers is about agency. The question is how and when, why have they done this? So we need to know. And in knowing this, we also need to travel, not just through their stories or the testimonials, which are very good, but we also need to travel through their content. What are the articles? What are the articles that does this? What are the articles? What are the books that does this? So we need to know all this, because everyone, I can say, perhaps from Southwest Nigeria, have experienced Vidal in different ways. If you are a music scholar, definitely you'll have read something about his work in one way or the other. The little I know about Vidal is my own work in jazz in Lagos. So I was, my work in jazz in Lagos, I was able to, so there are multiple ways to Vidal: musicology, ethnomusicology, historical musicology, systematic musicology, different dynamics, and ways in which Vidal himself, through his work, reconceptualize different, approach, in studying Yoruba music. Anthropology is there, cultural anthropology is also there, So, but we are interested in the content of these materials, which are second and the third layers will definitely help us to, get into. We want to get into Vidal. That is what makes a frontier. What has he done, and what is the relevance of this work today and the future of our field, society, and the world at large. But I would say that thank you so much, Dr. Ashaolu. I will definitely reach out to you, definitely. Thank you. Yeah, I think we have Mr. Esuola, or yeah. Can we have you, Mr. Esuola? Thank you so much.
Yes, good afternoon, sir, moderator. Can you hear me?
Definitely, I can hear you. Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I want to appreciate the organizers for this wonderful presentation, wonderful seminar, and also appreciate Dr. Bayo, Dr. Adekogbe, Professor Okwade, and Dr. Shaolu for all they said about Professor Olatunji Vidal. I am Adekogbe, as Dr. Bayo said. I work with Joint Admission and Matriculation Board as one of the music subject officer. And when we talk about assessment, trends of assessment, assessment in Nigeria, a joint admission and matriculation board, not only in JAM, uh, WAEC, and probably NECO, I think we we can't but not discuss about the impact and the contribution of Professor Vida. I think personally I met him. I finished from UNN, but I met Professor Vida in a conference at the Cathedral of St. Peter, Ake. Mr. Dayo Olokumuide invited him for a conference in the year 2005. That was my first interaction with him. But when I got to JAM, I met his footprint. And when we talk of our curriculum, the aspect of African music, uh, Professor Fida himself personally in the year 1984 at University of Benin defended the reasons why this must be included in our curriculum. And to date, I want you to know that our section C is very, very rich. That is where we have the inclusion of history, literature of African music, life and work of African composers and musicians, also studies in African musical instruments. So there is no way we can forget or we can just get music, especially to my own organization as Youth Admission and Matriculation Board. And also, wow, I remember vividly when I was writing my master's thesis, I wrote about the trends of music examination in JAM. And I have to engage Professor Vida as one of the pioneer moderator in the music. That was in his book, selected topic of Nigerian music, edited by Professor Adekogbe. He made mention of something that Jam started testing music in the year 1978. So I have to challenge it because as an insider, with evidence, access to our past questions, I realized Jam started testing music in the year 1979. And I told him, I was happy. It's okay, yes, that is why you are here. You are an insider. That is good. And I was humbled and I was also impressed. I said, for a man like this of this caliber, and he really helped me, and his contribution also contributed greatly to my thesis. So I think I'm not talking on behalf of my organization as a civil servant, but as a scholar, I think Professor Vida has contributed greatly to our curriculum in joint admission matriculation board. Thank you. That is what I just have to. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Mr. Isuola. Thank you for your contribution, and thanks for sharing with us your professional insight also in relation to your encounter with Vida. Thank you. So, friends and colleagues, if you have question, kindly, raise your hand, use the mic, and let's hear from you. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Again, while we are waiting for two or one more question or two or more points, let's start rounding up a bit because we are still going to have this session again. This is the first of this session, which more a general introduction. So we are going to go into more details, into depths within the content of, what made, why do we call him a frontier? The context and the content of an African frontier from the perspective of Professor Vida. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm really excited about that, to see what are the things he has done, What are the ideas we can run with? And how can this idea, help us navigate the current situation and also the future? And how can they help us generate more or advance the field, because that is the essence of, scholarship itself. It is about ambiguities, complexities, interrelation, entanglements, but joyful one in that case, things that, beautiful things, but that are negotiated through forms of agency, intersection, here and there. So, and that's what we've been hearing today about Professor Vidal. So, and being an African frontier, it is not all also about sweet stories. It's also about, it's also about ambiguities. Yeah, it's about ambiguity, and that is fine. It's fine. The concept of Africa itself is full of ambiguity. So the African people who are negotiating different paths for the country or for nation or the continent as a whole, it is normal for it to be like that. But the question is, why then what is the context? What is the need for us as scholars to focus on these details, this specificity of this person, of this frontier? It's simply because they have now become a body of knowledge. They have become a body of knowledge through which we can also immerse ourselves to critically engage and explore. For instance, the same way we read back today, when we talk about tonal harmony, when we talk about, harmony theory, we are going to take excerpts from Bach, from Handel, from Mozart, from Chopin, from, Rachmaninoff, according to their era. In the same way, a figure like, Vida has come into that ancestral stage, where we go back to him, where we go back to his work in writing about current situation. Now we can talk about Vida the same way we talk about Michel Foucault, in terms of French philosophers, particularly when it comes to issues of power, in today's social theory or humanities or musicological discourse, and I'm happy Dr. Ashaolu mentioned music and society. Those are issues around, which are current issues, that we are all facing today. So we can now talk about Vida. We can talk about his work and how we can start. Those material are now a body of knowledge from which we can also engage. But what sustains Vida as an African frontier is also the depths and the at levels in which we can engage Vida. Yes, I'm going to say that again. What really convert the concept of his agency and him as an African frontier, particularly from African musicology, is our own ability, to further engage. Not saying because it's dead, then Vida is gone. No, Vida is not gone. Vida is still with us. Very, very much we can still engage him through his thoughts. And being a scholar, he has a body of work that we can engage. So the next meeting, the next conversation around Vida, we are going to do a lot of thinking through Vida. We are going to flesh out his works, engage his material. Those that are relevant to analysis in African music, we are going to, focus on them. Those are relevant to issues of musicological design. We are going to focus on them. Those are relevant to issues of curriculum design, which is very, very important today, particularly in Nigeria. Somebody was telling me a few days ago that our curriculum is still colonized. And I was asking, oh, what do you mean by that? This is 21st century. And the person was telling me, look, we are still colonized. We still teach music history through Handel. We still use Handel. We still use Western history as our major, focus for music history. And I was asking myself, oh, then what are the works of, where are the places of somebody like Vida? The place like somebody like Akinwuba, Lazarus Ekweme, Fela Showande, Bode Omojolas of today, and many, and many of them. Where is their place in the scholarly body when we talk about African music history or Nigerian music history in our curriculum today? So that is just for me a kind of, a tip of the iceberg in terms of what we are going to engage, why we call him an African frontier. why it's the idea of why it belongs to that category. Okay. Our presenter, Dr. Adekogbe. Fine, please, you are welcome. You have the stage, sir. Oh, kindly unmute yourself, please.
Thank you very much. Yes, there is one particular, because we have maybe the majority of us who are here have not seen Vida in the last 20 years. So there is one thing I just want to, I probably plead for that. I want us to just see Vida after he has retired, when we visited him in his house in Nife. There is a short video that we recorded.
Okay.
For some of us who have not seen Vida in the last few more than 10 years or more than 20 years before his death, there is this video I want to play. Please.
Okay.
Yeah, there's this video I want to play for us so that it will also refresh our memory about the personality of Vida. Yes. Why is it not playing? Oh my God. Play video. Oh.
Can you send the slide to
Play
me?
video.
Can you send all the slide?
Okay. The slide.
Yes, can you send it?
Okay. I will send it to you. Great. Let me do that
please.
while you are doing that. Okay.
With the video inside, then we'll play it.
Okay, let me do that right immediately.
Okay.
Let me do that right immediately. I'll send it to your WhatsApp now.
That's fine. Please do that, please.
Okay, let me do that. You can continue talking, sir.
Okay. So the idea being a frontier is not just a level. It's the notion of frontier summarizes or embodies responsibilities. And that's why we are sitting here today talking about Vida. Of course, there are many of them, which, of course, as part of our project and business at the Organ School and Seminar Series, is to document, spotlight, engage, and bring to life the value of these people in terms of their work, their contribution, day and off, to scholarly discourse, to knowledge production, and development of society at large. So it's a frontier, and we need to engage in that way. And engaging Vida entails us going back to his archive, engaging the important principles that makes his work what they are today. Okay, still waiting for that, sir. Okay. Have you sent the?
Can I say something?
Yes, please.
Hello. Yeah. While you were talking about using African models for things that has to do with our music as against the Western things that we're using for theories and history and all of that. I remember in one of the discussions Vida had with us shortly after his inaugural lecture. The topic of his inaugural lecture is westernization of Nigerian church music and something like that. I think it's the 171 series of Ife.
Okay.
He now said when the department came to be, as in when they started music department in Ife, history of Nigerian music was not, and I think that was the opening of that inaugural lecture of that is inaugural lecture. That history of Nigerian music was not part of the courses that they were doing. Then when they got to the Senate meeting, that it was Professor Wole Soyinka who raised the point of order that, hey, guys, there is history of Nigeria, there is history of Western music. Your course, this, there is music, there is Nigerian music. Everybody at the Senate chamber, and I was like, why won't you have something that has to do with Nigeria? That is everything that is foreign. And like Dr. Oyemi said the other time, that Vida brought about some of this is ideology in the way he wrote folk music tunes. In our last meeting, some common church hymns like church tunes like Southgate, he would rearrange it in such a way that ta 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 ta. Then things that people will remember, that will make them remember by the day. And then when you look at his own, when I think it was Mr. Shola that did mention something about the publication. That is the two books edited by Professor Femi Adedeji. I remember I was the one taking those books, those manuscripts. I'll be the one. I'll go to Professor Vida, collect it, take them to Professor Adedeji. After editing, I was the one who took everything to the lady who typesetted those materials. And I remember when you were talking about his work. I remember when he gave me a particular work of his, this Christmas lullaby or something like that. He asked me to take it to Refonda Music at Ojuelegba in Lagos. Jesu kekere, Jesu kekere, he has a style. And when you look at some of the examples he will use for us in class, and some of the songs used at Oshigbo Court. Some of the songs he would. I remember in one of his classes, he would teach us. He would use the examples of T.K. Phillips. The atonal way the music ends, and they will now tell us that it's not original, that is not a church music, that it was an adopted work of Oshigbo Court. So Vida is a total teacher. So that's the way I would describe him. Thank you very much.
Well, of course. Thank you so much. And that is what we classify, we read source agency as a frontier. So what we are discussing now is approach to what we call decolonial premise, decolonial epistemology, decolonization within the context of creative work. And like we know, these frontiers, they belong to different generations. Within the generation of Vida, we can talk about Akin Uba, of course, established phenomenon, Joshua Zogwe, even Last Kwame. These are Ayo Bankole Senior. This is another generation that has a specific approach to decolonization. And, so we need to go back to these people. And for us to talk about decolonization, interculturality, because the reality is this, we are not saying or suggesting or alluding to the fact that we need to drop Western musical history. That is not the conversation. The basic conversation is simply to create a balance in the sense that things that represent people's everyday life. Like I said, we use the term frontier for a reason, and that's because the society in which we live in itself is not a complete society. It's an incomplete society that brings together different forms of entanglements, complexity, intersectionality, and draws upon processes rather than a product. We've had this conversation on this platform almost every week. Last year, we're talking about African identity. So for us to discuss identity in African context, we need to hang on a frontier like Olatunji Vidal through his compositions. If we need to talk about intercultural musicology, interculturality, intersectionality, we can't discuss these terms, these concepts, decoloniality, curriculum. We can't discuss them on their own without attaching them to a frontier like Vida, Akiuba, Ayobankole, Lazarus Ekweme, Joshua Zogwe, Meki Nzewi. These are people that have, they have finished the work of decolonization. But the question, perhaps I've thrown this to Mr. Isuola, which I am still going to invite for this particular conversation. Why are we not engaging this generation in our curriculum? Why is JAMB, WAEC, GC, why are they not engaging this guy as a resource, as a sphere of knowledge in all the examinations people do? That's a question for another day, but I'm just putting it out because we are still coming back to these questions. We are still coming back to this discourse. Where are the works of Ubers in our curriculum? Where are the works of Vida in our curriculum? In our syllabuses, where are the works of Lazarus Ekweme? Where are the works of Joshua Zogwe, Meki Nzewi, and many of that generation and others? The question is, why are we not having them? Why are people not engaging them? In fact, we are having this conversation and this particular dedicated series simply because I can assure you 50 or 40% of the new generation of music scholars, those in their undergraduate or even masters, might not even know who Vida is. The name might just as a cursory, reference by their teachers or senior colleagues, they might just know, but they don't know exactly what that name means in terms of where they find themselves. This should be it should be their entry point into the field, that, this field is has been negotiated by this particular frontier, this one, it does, so this is what we are talking about. This is how we can talk about African musicology. This is how we can talk about decolonization. This is how we can talk about African music archives. These are the archives. It's gone now. It used to be a living archive, but right now it is gone into that layers of what archive is. The question is, when are we going to start engaging, unraveling, or talking, or using what it stood for? These are questions that we are going to explore in our, conversation as we prepare for the second and the third, layers of this particular, series, which is dedicated to Olatunji Vidal. So, Dr. Adekogbe, I think we can share the slide, it can be part of the second, series on this. We can work that out. Definitely we'll share it, but I can't see it already. We can do that. Yeah. So we'll definitely do that. Yeah.
That is coming gradually.
Yeah, definitely. Just send it. We'll definitely share it as part of the second and the third series. It's part of the conversation. That's not a problem. Definitely. That's why we are here. And that's what we want to do. To spotlight, open Uber into the public space. Sorry, Vida. Yes. Maybe the next one we need to do now is Uber. Yes, that one is definitely we need to do it. Yeah, thank you. So, friends and colleagues, I hope there's no question as we need to go now. Any last question?
Hello, moderator.
Hello. Yeah.
Hello, moderator. How are you?
I am fine. I can hear you. Thank you.
Yeah, this is Professor Daramola from Ife.
Oh, Prof, it's nice to hear from you. Thank you, Prof.
Well, I've joined since the beginning of the program.
Wow.
Though I was also off and on because of my schedule of program here. But let me just say a word before you run up.
Okay, thank you so
I
much.
just want to thank you very much for organizing this serial on behalf of my teacher, my supervisor,
Wow.
Professor Augustus Olatunji Vidal. I also want to thank you especially for contextualizing the theme of this discussion so that we are not disarrayed by the euphoria of what we understand from different perspectives of who Professor Vidal was. I thank you for that. When we are talking about Vidal as an African frontier, is deeper. And that's why I say I want to cherish your thought process by saying that in the second and third series, we're going to deal with that clearly. You know, Vidal himself, apart from being a strong pillar of music, he also considers everything he does, he also considers a systemic approach into his own argument or presentation. So when talking about Vidal as an African frontier, we're talking about Vidal as one of the people or groups.
Yeah.
Like you, though there are some skirmishes in your grouping, you are grouping Zogwe with Laz Ekweme. I think we're going to talk about that later. But Zogwe was also my piano teacher before he left Ife for another university. So we're talking about people, Vidal as one of the people or group who can be referred or regarded as African frontier in terms of music and musicology. You're talking about Vidal as the person, one of the persons that push the boundaries of music, especially African music, one of the people that explored and injected into African music new dimensions, new horizons, and new theories. And that's why Ife today stands as the first university where these things were practically taught. I use the word carefully, practically, because when Vidal is teaching you, let me just use the word is here. When Vidal is teaching you, he also practicalizes whatever he's telling you. He makes sure that you understand it by seeing it. And that's one of his legacies. Today, Vidal has replicated himself in some of us, in so many people, Obafemi, Adedeji, and the rest. Adeolu just spoke short while ago. I know they all understand what Vidal did in our lives. In a collection did for him at LASU. I think you are from LASU, sir. Are you from LASU?
No, sir.
Oh, okay. You know that there was a book written for him when he went for his sabbatical in LASU. You know, I wrote in that, I think the first chapter there, I gave an article and I titled it, Man Make Music as Music Makes Man. And I was talking about Prof. Vidal. You can check that book if you have it. So you are correct. And those who have contributed in one way or the other are very correct to say Vidal was an icon to be reckoned with when it comes to African music, Yoruba music, and he expanded to all areas. You know, it's like just a butterfly. Vidal was like a butterfly. When you look at that butterfly at the surface, you see different colors. That's who Vidal was. When you approach Vidal through acoustic, somebody just talked about it, science, Vidal will be there for you. And talk about dance, even in the realm of drama and theatrical works, Vidal was there. So it's just like a butterfly. You can use a butterfly to describe his competency and his expertise when it comes to music generally, and especially the music of his own people, that's the Yoruba people. So on that note, I want to really appreciate you. I just said I will say a word. I'm saying many words now. Don't mind me. So just pardon me. He tried to really represent his own people in terms of music. You know, when he was dealing with, anyway, maybe another time when we come for this, when we come on this forum again, we'll share some other things, especially what Prof. Vidal stood for in terms of academics and in terms of scholarship. So on that note, I want to appreciate everybody. I have done this for my teacher, for my supervisor, and a friend indeed, a friend indeed. We're going to talk more about him, how he handled issues. He was a dean at the Faculty of Art, 2003. At the same seat, I sat on it 2018. So, I mean, he gave so much to so many people. So you can see it from different angles and approaches work from different perspectives. Maybe at the next series, we'll be gospelling our lives. I have the opportunity to join. We'll also talk more about all these things. But I want to really appreciate you for contextualizing that title or that topic, that we're talking about frontiers. We're talking about people who push the boundaries, who have pushed the limits, explore and innovate in a particular manner. So we're going to be dealing with these sub-themes, maybe at this next series. I want to thank you very specially. And I want to especially thank Dr. Guyemi, our HOD there. You are doing well. We identify with your success, identify with things that you are doing at Organ House. I want to use this medium to also, on behalf of my people here in Ife, appreciate the founder of that university for his generosity, especially when my teacher passed away. So I want to appreciate everybody for this time. Maybe we'll pray by the grace of God, I'll be able to join you maybe in the next series. And if not, I will share my own opinion with the moderator. Moderator, you are doing wonderfully, and thank you. Goodbye, everybody, and thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Prof, for your kind word. Thank you for your insightful contribution. Thank you so much. Definitely, I am going to reach out to you automatically now. We need to bring you in. You need to be part of the, definitely, I will reach out to you, Prof. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, and thanks, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. It is the first series for this year, and it is a symbolic one. It is quite important for every one of us. Hence, we had the title, African frontier. We have many frontiers from this part of the world that needs to be unveiled. Initially, I was talking about, Akinwuba came, it wasn't a slip of tongue. I've been thinking about it. Yeah, Akinwuba came into my mind. We have the Ayoban colleagues, we have every one of them, that we need to unveil. Why can't we be talking about theories from their work? Why can't we be talking about, different concepts that that people do today from their work? So we have a lot to do, and I'm happy that the Organ House gave us this opportunity to do this. But we'll promise you, we'll follow up with this, and all these frontiers, we are going to bring them to light, put them in the public space, and place them where they belong in our society. So thank you so much. My name is Oladele Ayorinde. You call me Dr. Oladele Ayorinde. Thank you so much. And looking forward to seeing you next week. Or before then, you are welcome to reach out to us or reach out to me at Organ House, the Organ House Seminar Series at gmail.com. You can reach out to us there. And most importantly, it's going to be an interesting year, as you can see today. We have a kind of interesting, we created layers of diverse and of interesting resources, materials, discourse, concerts, seminars for us. So I welcome you to this year of exploration. Thank you so much. See you next week. Bye. Thank you.